and dispatching the closest aircraft all at the same time. So as the initial caller making the request, staying on the line with communication specialists until all information is received is necessary and speeds the process of aircraft to the scene.
Generally, the pilot will go straight to the aircraft, and the medical personnel will get all of the pertinent details, and then come to the aircraft, and then we'll start the aircraft together. They'll load in the aircraft, and as we lift, generally, dispatch will give us at least a latitude and longitude, general direction in which to fly. Approximate distance, and then they'll redefine that as we get nearer to the scene.
The goal of safety now broadens its scope with the inclusion of police, fire, and EMS professionals, each filling an important role in the safe landing and departure of the aircraft. Air Evac Life Team's pilots will be in direct communication with the incident commander or the designated landing zone coordinator via radio regarding the scene. As the landing zone coordinator, Air Evac Life Team would also like for you to ensure that the following safety procedures have also been put in place as you assume an important role in the aircraft's and the scene's safety. Your first order is choosing the best area on the scene or near the scene that considers the following safety considerations. Locate a reasonably flat area clear of people, vehicles, and obstructions such as trees, poles, and overhead wires. If it's a field, the area must be free of stumps, brush, posts. A safe landing zone should be 100 feet by 100 feet, day and night. You should also note and consider wind direction, as helicopters land and take off into the wind. Choose a designated landing zone that has an approach free of obstructions. Any obstruction in the area should be relayed to the helicopter crew on initial radio contact, along with the landing zone description with specific landmarks using directions like north, south, east, and west as opposed to left of or in front of when describing specifics to your scene. This clarifies your information to the pilot.
We're going to take at least one orbit to feel comfortable going in to make sure that I haven't missed an obstacle, a tall tree, highline poles, some more wires. You have to make sure before I start that approach, because once we're established inbound on that approach, things get really, really slow because we're checking every time for the very same things.
Air Evac Life Team pilots will always make one circle around the scene, verifying information regarding the landing zone and confirming any hazards that you have identified. Once safely landed, the helicopter will either shut down, which requires a 2-minute cool down before the pilot shuts down the engine, or in some cases the aircraft may be left running or hot, depending on the circumstances of the patient. Do not approach the aircraft. The Air Evac Life Team flight crew will always come to you. The landing zone coordinator or incident commander should assign a tail rotor guard who should stand a safe distance outside the aircraft's disc and serve to deny all access to the rear of the aircraft.
The most dangerous part of the helicopter is obviously the tail. The tail rotor is spinning so fast that you cannot see it turn.
You should never approach any helicopter from the rear due to the danger of the aircraft's tail rotor. In fact, you should never approach a running helicopter unless instructed to do so by the crew. And if so, always approach from the front and in full view of the pilot, only when the pilot motions you that it's safe to do so. But again, in nearly all situations, the Air Evac Life Team flight crew will come to you.
Once we arrive on scene and we make contact, say, with the ambulance crew, we're definitely going to get a verbal report from them. This is all ongoing as we're providing care and our assessments. So you're multitasking. You've got a lot going on at one time. One of us may be taking care of an airway problem while the other team member is getting as much detailed report as to what happened. Your patient may look fairly stable, but the fact that they had a fatality in the same vehicle that they were riding in, that tells you a lot of potential that could be wrong with your patient. So it may not be anything that you can see at this moment, but that's going to happen over a course of period of the next hour or so, which again makes that definitely a criteria to fly that individual. So all these details are very important that we learn about our patients.
Now that the patient is ready to depart, you will receive instructions from the flight crew regarding how they would like you to assist. Flight crew members will always request only the minimum number of persons needed when loading the patient, which is always a foot-first load. Any personnel asked to assist in loading the patient should have all gear and equipment secured and fastened. Also ensure all sheets and blankets are secure, especially when approaching a running aircraft.
But when you move under the rotor system, the first thing that you lose is verbal communications. There's no talking. You can't hear. So it's maintaining eye contact with all team members under the rotor system. It's just moving slow and purposeful.
Once your assistance is complete and the patient is loaded, exit the landing zone from the front of the aircraft at a 45-degree angle off the nose, keeping eye contact with the pilot, and once clear, remain out of the aircraft's rotor disc until the aircraft departs. It's also important to keep the landing zone secure until after the aircraft has departed the scene and is out of sight. This ensures that the landing zone remains clear of vehicles, pedestrian traffic, and foreign objects should the aircraft need to return to the scene. Air Evac Life Team is the largest air medical program in the country to complete implementation of night vision technology at all of its air ambulance bases. A $7 million investment in safety, and for pilots and crew, literally turning night into day.
Simply stated, the night vision goggle simply amplifies available light up to 100 times. So as long as you have any ambient light whatsoever, the goggles are going to compensate, in other words, magnify that light to a great degree. It's kind of a different mindset from what a lot of the LZ folks who have been trained earlier, it's a different mindset than what we once taught them. And that is, when we're coming in, try to keep the illumination at a low level. It's great to illuminate the area, but make sure your spotlights are shining away from the aircraft. With the NVGs, we really don't need the highlight. It's very, very blinding, literally blinding to us if you put a spotlight on our eyes with the goggles on. We do everything possible to be as safe as we possibly can. Now, having said that, again, aviation is not inherently risky. I am not one of those that say it's inherently risky. But it can be, if not properly managed. You've got to take the risk out of it yourself. And that all starts with the crew. A crew that works together, that manages that risk together. It's extremely important that all crew members be read into that mission or that flight and try to mitigate any of those risks.
Documented annual safety training for all employees and staff of your agency who are involved with helicopter operations is highly recommended. Putting these safety procedures to work every time Air Evac Life Team comes to your scene or community will help ensure the safest possible environment for all.